Spiritual sex and candy, yeah.
Hello, gorgeous beings, and welcome to Spiritual Sex and Candy. I am Heather, your Shamanic Sweetener, and we have JP Adkins, of course, my illustrious co host, our Freedom Jedi. Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Heather. It seems like forever since I've seen you. You're
I
not
know
allowed
the
to go
past
away.
month or so has been super crazy. And we were here, but we weren't here. We were like,
Yeah.
we
It's
skipped
just,
a week, we came back. It was kind of all over the place.
it has been, and it's completely my fault. Just traveling has been crazy with all kinds of things, wonderful things, guys. If you guys don't know, I'm actually on the road finally. Yay! Because I can't remember
Yay!
where I left you guys. Where did we leave off?
Right. I feel like, I don't know. Is it me? I think it's me.
It's
Everything's
not
me
you.
today.
It's all about you. It's always about you.
Right. Yeah. We're at like, what is this, episode 15? Is it 15? I think it's 15.
15, 19, 102. I don't remember.
Right. And so we started a couple weeks ago. We started our chakra series. We want to talk about the energies. And we're going to talk about the root chakra today, right? So we started with third eye a couple weeks ago, which we're going to revisit again later as we work through these because it fits in because you connect with yourself differently throughout your journey. Yeah. So deep breaths. So much has been going on.
So much
We're going
going
to
on.
try to talk about the root chakra today. From fear to foundation, building security from the root up. This is your base chakra. Before we get started, because it's going to be an episode, this is going to be a very raw episode. I already know. I already said I was going to cry. So, that's, I have tissues. We are a trigger warning. This is spiritual sex and candy. We talk about everything. We are going to talk about all the things. So, sex, drugs, rock and roll, violence, unaliving, all of the things. We talk about it. So, if you are easily triggered, stay as long as you can. This is not to offend anyone. We're not here to offend anyone. This is our experiences in our lives. So, we're here to share them with you. If you're not down for that, get the fuck out. We don't care.
Oh, I'm sorry. Bye. Have a nice day.
Right. Everyone else, thanks for hanging out with us.
It is so great. It really is great to have you back and to be here with you. Like I said, I've been on the road. Was on construction for one of the episodes, and yeah, and Heather's been doing some stuff. So between the two of us, this has been absolutely crazy. Yoga's been put off here and there. Like I did show up for yoga on Monday. Yes, yesterday was Monday.
Yeah, I don't know what day it is either. I've lost some days in here recently. Yeah.
It got long. It's been a long week today. This week.
That's a good way to put it. That is a
Yes.
good way to put it. Yeah. Yeah, so you're traveling and there's finding a balance in that, right? Of when you rolled out, leading up to that, all the crunch stuff, everyone knows, even when you just go on a short trip of, I'm going to go out of town for the weekend. There's like 20 things that have to happen the day you're going out of town that you can't like do ahead of time, or something always comes up that you could have done ahead of time, but you don't know it until 2 days before you're leaving and you're painting your whole RV.
that was so, folks. The craziness that happened. I had to coat my roof, and my roof was leaking. Typical RV stuff, nothing, huge and crazy. So I go up to coat my roof, and the primer that we got was black. Now, why the primer was black, I have no freaking clue whatsoever. It was a really cool black too. And had I thought this out a little bit more, you would have still saw some of this cool black primer. But I had so much product because I was afraid of running out of product, and it takes like 3 weeks to get in. So
Right.
I made sure that I had enough product. So I had enough product to paint my whole RV. Okay. And my whole RV is older. So like having a nice coating on my RV is not a bad thing.
Right.
And
so you can extra layer of protection because you sealed it. It's not just like regular. You didn't just like
right. It's not just regular paint.
Right.
Right. It's literally roof sealer. So we ended up doing that on the whole thing instead. And thank goodness Tim was there. Timmy, thank you. Thank you.
Everything happens for a reason.
Everything happens for a reason. We'll talk about that more next week because it fits better in that conversation.
Right.
But yeah, it's just been, my whole life has been changed. And
right. So, I mean, it fits right in with Root Chakra because that's all about your safety, security, your foundation, right? I call it in my program, it's the root of all things, right? That's like the name of the section because it really, it's I am. Like the statement I am, when you say I am out loud, it connects with your root chakra. It is our physical, it's where our energy physically attaches to the earth. That's what our root chakra does, right? It attaches us to this plane. It grounds us to where we are, like who we are.
In Kundalini, it's where it actually rests. When it at rest, that's where it is resting. And the goal
Which makes sense because that's the base, the root of the tree, right? Like,
yeah. It's really beautiful. I was telling Heather right beforehand, this conversation is going to be interesting, and then next week is kind of boring comparatively for me and my experience. It was like a lot of things happen. It's beautiful. It's great. It's wonderful. But the root chakra was like, oh crap! Like we're opening this up, and and all things are going to come forth. And
because it is the root. When I say the root of all things, I mean the root of all things. How your root chakra flows and how balanced it is how safe and secure you and who you are. And when you start working on what makes you feel unsafe, and that is a scary fear, it's fear-based, right? That is the root chakra when unbalanced is fear-based. And when you start bringing up every fear of moving, even, like you're traveling now, and what does that look like? And there's some uneven ground in that anyway, just in anytime you're going to travel like that and, live a nomadic life, like anything can happen. And so how to stay rooted in who you are as a being while
being
everything around you is.
Yeah. And so it was really funny
not
because
permanent. Right.
Right when I started working on this, I went back. I was out in Adrian, outside of Detroit, and my friend's property where I officially live. And I was out there, and I had to come back into town for my niece's graduation. And I was driving, and it's a nice hour-long distance. So it's a really good little, like, I'm driving far enough. I'm getting the engine warm. But it's not too far out of the way for anybody if something happens, and because we're testing the RV and we're testing a new engine and we're testing new tires and new freaking everything on this.
Everything. Right.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. So I'm driving back home and the roof falls off. Literally rips off. As I'm
Right.
dealing with Root Chakra. And so we were kind of joking about that. I didn't even notice. Even after I looked at it, it didn't like, I didn't panic. It wasn't like, oh my God, what am I going to do? It was like, okay, we got to fix this. There was
Right.
no drama in it. It was just like, okay, how? And that is not how I typically operate. I panic and worry.
We're a little dramatic.
We're a little not dramatic. Just mom was a worrier, and so I grew up with that. Like everything was fear based, and when I stopped being fear based,
Yeah.
and I stopped that whole thing, and it's like, okay, this happened. All right, why did it happen? We still don't know. Like really, we can't tell you exactly why part of my roof.
To see how you would react.
Right. Because the universe
Did you
decided
really
that
do that work? Did you really do
yeah. Did you really do the work? Or are you? And I think I can honestly say that in my root chakra, I've done the work.
I feel like I'm an earth sign. I'm always doing the work. Like I don't think the work is ever done. The work is never done. I shouldn't say that.
Never.
The work is never done because we are always there's always work to be done. There's always going to be something to come back to. I'm dealing with it in a different way. So like physical usually is I've noticed it's kind of the last thing that happens a lot of times when people are working on their stuff, right? Because you have to you connect with yourself, you get mentally in a good place, and it's different for everyone. For me, the physical has been like the last part of what's happening, and my body's fighting me physically. So my root, my foundation, my fight or flight, that survival mode, because so many of us have lived in survival mode for so long. Like you said, the fear base of what's going to happen next. I grew up, in a house. I was told very young, you can't talk about, when someone goes, when was the first time you didn't feel safe, or that sort of thing. Like we were told from a very young age we couldn't talk about that my parents smoked marijuana. Now it's not a big deal, but in the 80s, it was a big deal. And, and in the 90s and stuff. And so we were told you can't talk about this or you'll get taken away. Like the cops will come and get you and you'll be taken away and I will go to jail. Like that's what my dad told us. Talk about, and then there was my mom being sick, and that's a different kind of survival. So I spent many a year in survival. And it's very easy to want to go back into that.
Yeah. And
because it's your instincts. This is it's your instincts,
Mm-hmm.
It's your primal, and you need some of that, by the way. Having none is not a good idea either, to have so much that you're frozen is not good either. But I'm the fighter. I'm going to think about it all the different ways. And
one of the problems is that we have this instinct to run from tigers, but we no longer run from tigers, and everything comes up as you're running from a tiger. So I have to go on stage. I'm running from a tiger. I have to go and I did live today. It felt like I literally I started 3 times. This is not normal for me, which I'm working through I'm now working through a different chakra. Perfectly makes sense with what I'm working on. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is what's showing up. Cool. Because that's the game that I'm playing right now. Right? I'm gonna unbalance the chakra. What does it feel like? What's it doing? Okay. Oh wait. then
that's the part of connecting with yourself first and being self-aware of what's going on.
Yeah. And it really is about part of what I'm working on is being more self-aware, and I'm pretty self-aware. I feel I'm very self-aware, and then I see more
So I think there's
examples.
two different, when we say self-aware, it's not because a lot of people are self-aware in the sense of like they know that they're being detrimental to themselves. They know that they're talking negatively, but they just don't know how to change it. Right. And so like recognizing it. And then there's the when you first start to really become aware of your thoughts and things like that, you catch yourself. Like, so it's not just a repetitive thing, right? That narrative is not just a repetitive thing. And then you start noticing it. Like, oh, why am I going to that place? What, like, right, that negative thought or whatever it is. And then you keep working on that. And then it's okay, now we're going to switch that. What am I really why am I telling myself that? Or it might just be bullshit, right? That's fucking bullshit. And that's just some bullshit, um and then you get to where you go, okay, what am I learning from this? Why is it that this is, okay, I'm starting to get frustrated? Or why is it that I've recorded this 3 times, right? Like I've done that where I sit down to read a card because I feel like I need to read a card, and so I'm just like going through the motions, and then I stumble on it, and I go, okay, stop. What is this really about? Where
What am I really trying to say?
what am I really trying to say? What am I avoiding saying that is causing me to not be able to get out? Because it has to, because then you get to a point where you don't have a choice but to be authentic. If you're not being authentic, you're you're yeah, you can't communicate about it.
Nope. No, and really working on the root, one of the things that I found was, and we've talked about it, we've hit on it before, but the raw libido, without um, any filter in any way, because your sacral chakra deals with the sexuality of that, and the sensuality, and the creation.
Right.
But your root chakra, especially in men, it is literally like your primal instinct to
Procreate.
procreate,
Yeah.
procreation. So
Yeah.
for me, it was very interesting. That whole part was very interesting. And the funny thing is, as soon as I switch over, I got in a relationship,
Right.
like almost immediately, um, and almost a different relationship. Dude, there were 2 options right then.
Yeah.
So this work is,
And it's
I've
different
been
for everyone. So like
yeah,
this is our personal experiences. Some people it's just like an aha, or especially when they like, I have a whole program about this. This is what I do, right? This is and then when you really start getting into that, like, when in your life did you not feel safe? That's when I always, that will be a part of my retreat. Like that's the first thing we're going to talk about is safety and security, and where in your life do you not feel safe, and within yourself too, right? And this happens, of course, when if you grow up in poverty, you struggled, or even, I was a single mom, so like we were always told, that um, my parents didn't make a whole lot of money. I mean, my dad made good money towards the end, but he worked at a power plant for 33 years. You know what I mean? Um, but like I was a single mom, we didn't have nothing.
yeah.
You
It's
know,
weird
we
for
moved
me.
all the time. I didn't get married and buy a house, and like I've never owned a house. I've never owned a new car. Yeah. So I had to find that in myself because I lived in survival mode for so long that I didn't even know what not living in survival mode looked like. sometimes I still don't know. Sometimes I feel like that line is still blurred, and I am rooted in who I am as an individual, but there are still things that I don't feel grounded in, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And there's always another level, another layer.
Right.
We were talking about it, how it's never over.
Right.
I don't, although I said I'm moving on to the next one, like I'm focusing there, it didn't go away. I still have things I work on. I still have to notice, and I still have to recognize what comes up.
Well, yeah,
I was talking
because they're all connected, especially like our lower 3 chakras are super connected, right? They're like in your abdomen. They're from your diaphragm, under your rib cage to your pubic bone. Like there's 3 chakras right there, and they're very, very dense. And it's the same. These 3 are very dense, and then you have that bridge of the heart, which is like that's our center of our being. Um, and so all the time, like anytime you're working on the lower 3, you're really working on all 3. You're really working on all 3 because it is who you are. It is the base of who you are. It is how your relationships, your creative, your feminine or your masculine, or the balance of the 2. It is your self-esteem. Like it's the core of who you are. That's why they're called core muscles. It's you work on your core. That's what those chakras are.
and you really are working on your core, and
Yeah.
it's. I mean, it's interesting because this is not the work I have done in the past. So I've always looked at it in different ways. So going through it this way, and Heather is such a great guide on this, guys. It's just absolutely one of those people that I'm so fortunate to have in my life, because she really does. When I said earlier today, I'm having blah, 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 blah. And she goes, yeah, you're working here. I'm like, that's not part. And she goes, and looked at me, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess it is. Okay. And because that's what happens, right?
Yeah.
You're just such an expert. And thank you. Just, I so appreciate you on every level of how much of a
Well,
beautiful person you are, and how much of a beautiful soul you are, and how loving and caring you really truly are. Thank you.
thank you. Thank you for being a part of my soul tribe.
Wouldn't have it any other way. I ain't going
I
nowhere,
know
bitch.
you're gonna make me cry. See, it's your fault I'm crying now.
It's gotta be my fault.
I've been going through it. So I have to say, like last week, you guys, when I canceled this show at the last minute, since I've been in the hospital, and if you listened, I got out of the hospital and we started this, right? Like I spent 9 days in the hospital. And since then, my health just has not been good. It hasn't been bad per se, but like I just am very lethargic. I don't have any energy. I've just been having some issues. And I had some, I, I have a rash all over my body. It's much better now, but last Tuesday it was like in the midst of getting really bad. And um, so I'm on some really strong medications right now. I go to see doctors this week. They're trying to find out. I got some other news of having an autoimmune disorder. And I was just talking to Jeff about it before it got this bad, actually. And I said, when you evolve and you're doing this work and stuff, you go to different levels and different portals and timelines and things. And so I'm jumping all over the place because as a shaman, I do that. And in my own personal work, because I'm always working on myself. And so I said to him, I feel like my old self is fighting my new self. And and then like this rash went completely crazy. And I like wanted to itch my skin off. I was itching my skin off. Like it's really bad. But I'm doing the things I need to, but I feel so I'm like really kind of scattery, you guys, because I'm on very high doses of steroids right now, and I'm putting steroids on my skin, and my energy's just kind of been all over the place. And you know, and the first couple of days for me, so talking about like going into survival, I found out I had an autoimmune, and we don't know what autoimmune that is yet. And so the first thing I think of is like, here's one more thing for me to fight, you know? And I had to process it because I was not okay. And a really good friend of mine said, just remember you're one of the strongest people I know. And no matter what, you're going to get through this. And I thought, well, no fucking shit, which I know it comes from a place of love. I know it does. But that is one of those things that like, I have heard that so many times in my life that even when it comes from the purest of loving hearts, because it did. And I know, you know, I know she was just like trying to give me a word of encouragement really quick. And I just went, well, I don't feel that way right now. I just don't feel that way. And so like, and I just found out Friday, you guys. So like, this is literally like day 4 of trying to process this information and not know. Right. And when I was talking to you, Jeff, the other day, you sent this to me, and I have to read this and share this because Jeff and I have the most amazing conversations. And really, we should probably just screen record any of our conversations that we're having, because we could have hours and hours of this show, like behind the scenes, just great conversations that him and I have. But we were texting back and forth, and he said to me, old self, we love you. Thank you for getting us this far. We look forward to getting advice and wisdom from you. New self, don't be in such a hurry to dismiss old self. You can learn a lot from them. I told you I was going to cry, and I didn't know why, but like, I needed that in that moment the other day, because it's not a new and old, and you're right. Like it's okay to take your time. Like I always want to jump in 2 feet, and I'm like, I need to know what it is right now so I can find it. Of course, I've done like all this research, and it could be this, and it could be this, and what could it be? And, you know, and at the end of the day, I had another friend check on me, and he said, so is positive even existing right now? You know? And I said, positive always exists. Like, positive never not exists in my life. Because giving up is never a choice, never an option. It never has been. And I've fought really hard for a really long time to get where I'm at now. Like, this is not, giving up's not an option. But taking my time to be with myself through this instead of pushing myself through this is where the growth is. Because before, I would have gone back to pure survival. I would have just been like, okay, this is not, nope, I'm just going to fight. I'm just going to, and there's something to be said in that. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not going to say, you know, there's definitely something to be said with that. But on the other side of that, just like allowing myself to like, no, I'm not okay. Of course, I will be okay at some point, but no, right now in this moment, I'm not. It's a lot. I'm overstimulated. I have an itching rash all over my body. You know, I don't know what's going on. And I know a lot, you guys. I spent 23 years in the medical field and was in the medical field long before that, because I helped take care of my mom, and like, I know a lot. And sometimes that is not a good thing. You know. And so it's just, it's been a journey for me over the last, you know, several days of just being. And
in that same conversation, you said something really, in that same conversation, you said something really powerful when we were talking late, because that conversation happened like in text, and then we talked like 5 minutes later. It was like, you know what, we can't do this anymore. Let's talk.
right.
And you said something really profound then. You're like, I am standing here right now. I'm not drinking. I'm not getting high. I'm not numbing. I'm just dealing with it.
Yeah.
And it was so powerful because a lot of times that's what we do. We want to go back into whatever numbing technique we're going to run to.
And
It
it's
could
just
be,
to feel something different, right? It's like, okay, I'm overwhelmed. Like I said, I'm overstimulated. I'm overwhelmed in so many different, coming from every direction and going to doctors and, everything. And then having to like tell my kids and call my uncle and tell my aunt and, like have those conversations of like, they're not fun conversations to have. And then I had to because I need medical history. Like this is not just I'm going to the primary care. Like they need to know all the things. And yeah. And I said, the old me would have, let's go have a drink, or I would go have some random sex, or like, not that I feel attractive in any way, shape, or form. By the way. Like that would be off the table regardless. But and really I shouldn't be doing any of those things anyway because of the
steroids.
medication I'm on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my first thought, like really was, okay, what can I do after I get this under control? Because like, okay, I'm going to take care of this right now. And then what, and yeah, of course it's like, oh, I'm just going to go get shit faced, or I'm going, which I don't like. And it was like a fleeting thought. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, I did not sit down and contemplate this, you guys, or like, I'm going to go do a big fat rail or anything like that. But I mean, the thought crossed my mind of like, how would I have dealt with this before? And I would have done what needed to be done to get it under control. And then I would have done something to go and not feel it for a while.
Yeah. And we do that. I mean, it could be and it doesn't even have to be the drugs and alcohol. It could be TV or a video game or.
I have binge watched. Yeah.
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 I mean,
I that's what I did. I'm like so sick of social media. That's how much I doom scrolled over the past weekend that like now I pick up my phone and I'm like, why am I, and I just like, because my mind is going 1,000 miles a minute and on steroids, literally.
yeah, it's
Literally on steroids, but no, I don't want to go, and I don't want to do any of those things. What would be amazing, to be honest, would to be have someone that would just like hold me there.
Mhm.
That would be really nice. And since that is not an option,
it's always an option. Yeah, you got me going. That's not fair.
maybe I shouldn't have done my makeup today. I had to do a quick 5-minute, like, I was like, I feel like I don't feel like the pocket. I do. My body's just fighting with itself. And yeah, and
Yeah.
wanting to, thinking about going into that, back to that survival of, okay, now I'm going to fight. And my fighting looks different now. So like, instead of, I want to eat all the time because I'm on like super strong steroids. And so I have a bunch of salad stuff and veggies and, and so like I'm eating all day, but at least I'm trying to eat not potato chips and 2 cinnamon rolls for breakfast
With bacon and eggs.
with bacon and duck eggs.
Duck eggs. Oh my goodness. Guys, I know. Actually, it's funny. I told you halfway through this, the dinner bell will ring.
Yeah.
related to that bell just rang.
Right.
They know I'm in a podcast, so I will message in a second. But one of the things that I'm getting used to is just actually eating 3 meals a day. Like I don't do that. I haven't done that in band camp.
Right.
This is my band shirt. For my freshman year, I have 5 of these shirts. I had 5 of these shirts at one point in my life. The only one I have left is my freshman year.
That's fantastic.
Quite cool. So this shirt is old, older than most people that I know. So definitely older than my ex-boyfriend, my most recent ex-boyfriend. So he, just getting used to eating and what is it on the farm and what does it look like here? You know what I mean? It's amazing to eat real food. What does it look like? What does food look like?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
You know,
for sure. Yeah,
as
because
a
like
team.
so you're staying on a farm. Yeah, we have to say that. So you're staying on what is it called? Ohana, right?
Yeah, the Ohana, the Ohana
Ohana.
farm. It's
And so you're like eating fresh chicken and duck eggs and chicken eggs and
and
duck eggs and fresh
and
chicken and duck and
fucking yeah,
all the good
and
things.
bacon from 2 doors down, and um, yeah, everything is fresh.
When farm to
Fresh.
table, we're talking
Yeah,
the farm
we're
is in the
talking.
backyard.
I'm on the
Right.
right. I'm on the farm and picked the carrots for lunch yesterday.
Right.
I had a carrot souffle, guys. I didn't post that one because it was too pretty. Uh, it was, yeah, it was carrot souffle. But getting used to what food looks like.
Yeah. Which that's a
I
really
joke
good way too, if you want to connect with your root chakra, is to really think about what,
what goes in your body and
what
what
goes in your
your
body. Yeah.
um. One of the things that came up for me being here, I said the first 2 days I was forced to ground.
Yeah.
This space is definitely one that it's such that all the electricity that was in my body had to go somewhere because I was in the
Mhm.
city too much.
Well, and you're in a sacred space.
And I'm in a sacred space, and so it just went and like force ground, and I'm like, that's painful. Don't do that again. Can I not do that again? And I was, in the process of
And you needed to bring your head back down to the ground, which is like
right,
it's funny because we talked about that. I'm like, "Hey, I need you here with
right.
me, please," And then it was like you were like, well, oh, I am now."
I'm, I am here.
It's beautiful. I'm loving the pictures. If you guys need to go follow Jeff because he has been posting some like videos of like I want to be out there barefooted, just like
No, you don't. The grass here is full of the little picker stuff.
chiggers or whatever.
Yeah, they're not.
That's one thing
It's not
that's
barefoot
one thing
grass.
I love about, and I appreciate the desert. I just grew up in the desert, and so like the greenness of Florida and the amount of water, and like there's water in our backyard, and I get to sit on the back porch enclosed with no bugs. I mean, bugs don't bother me, but and like watch the birds, and it's oh
My experience of Florida was that there were cockroaches in my freezer. So
no,
like literally we bombed 4 times. We let the geckos in because they ate the roaches.
right.
Palmetto bugs. Palmetto bugs. Um, and like they're freaking roaches and they're huge and they fly and they're creepy and stop. Um, so we had to let the geckos in, and so I didn't have that whole
Yeah,
nice
I'm glad
experience.
I didn't have your experience because I'm yeah, it's I love the green though. I've always been the one that let's go to the mountains, let's be in the trees. I want to get out and touch the trees. I, I went, that one of my favorite things ever was to go to the redwoods. And I didn't even do the big, huge trees, just because I wanted to experience that with someone. Like, it was just me and my dog. And though it would have been an incredible experience, like, I want to have someone with me that I could be like, look at this, and freak out and act like a little kid, and someone to go, yes, dear, that's, you're so cute, or whatever. But we went to part of the redwoods, and just to be in that connected, because they're all connected, their root system, it's actually one big tree. And so to be in that and touch that, and
one of the things that
earthing, it's called earthing. Go do it. It will ground you. If you want to know how to ground yourself the quickest way, if you have grass in your front yard, go take your shoes off, go outside and stand in your grass and wiggle your toes. Go touch the tree outside. Go.
You don't even have to, it doesn't even have to be grass. It
No,
could be the same.
dirt, anything.
Yeah.
Put your feet in the earth.
Try not to bring yourself.
And I have neuropathy, and rocks and neuropathy don't mix well, but I'm really good at grounding, though. I can ground through anything.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I went for a meditation once where they were grounding through all 5 elements, not just earth, which was interesting to me because we went through rain where it wasn't solid, not like, because anytime I've grounded through water, it's been grounded through like a pond or a lake or the ocean or something like that was like solid and stable, but it was the rain and grounding through to the rain. And it was like, it's not stable. It's impermanence.
But it's a cycle. It's a complete cycle.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And through the air, grounding to the air, grounding to the wind. Like, that was, each one is a different experience and a different feeling. And I found that very, very interesting, and
I love that
to go through. But yeah, my go-to is definitely grounding and setting roots and rooting, earthing and rooting.
I'm an earth sign, and I'm an earth sign. Like, I mean, my moon is water, so like, I thirst me, give me, make me muddy. I will soak it all up and give it back to you.
I don't know.
I
am Virgo Leo. I'm double Virgo and double Leo. How does that work for me? It's like, okay.
I mean, when you think about it, all the signs need all the other signs to exist. The water, because even fire is fed by water, and though it burns earth, like, we need fire. Fire is good. Part of the problem why we have all these forest fires is there's so much underbrush that is not, that it needs to happen. That's part of. And yes, man-made fires suck. Like, don't come at me. It's not what I'm saying, but it's just a part of. But then there's regrowth and rebirth when fire happens. Right. Yeah, like the phoenix, which, anyway, people ruined the phoenix for me.
I hate that. I hate when people ruin
the
things.
Symbolism of it.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So let's talk about what it really means to root and balance your root chakra.
Well, first you have to recognize like where it came from. I'm a big why person. So, that's where that, like, if you can answer the question of like, what is your biggest fear? Because it's fear-based, right? Mm-hmm. When you're in survival mode, you're in fear of something. And it might be, pick a point in your life where you were really afraid in it, and you've never, the last time you were super afraid, and, or where was that life changing and then start to rewrite that and connect with that part of yourself, because if you're a workaholic, like, here's some signs that you're spewing energy: workaholic, hoarding, greed, anger. Those are all your root chakras out of control, and it's that fear of not having enough, right? If I can get more, if I can work more, if I can have more, I'll be stable, right? Or I'll feel stable. And then the other side of that is that super anxious, suspicious of everyone, withdrawn, where you can't deal with anyone at all. And that's because, you are so blocked that you don't even trust yourself, right? And it's starting to trust yourself. And it's listening to yourself and knowing that you stop beating yourself up over, did I make the right decision or not? It's always the right decision.
It's the decision you made.
It's right. It's the right one because you made it. It might not have been the one you liked. It might not have. It might have been that you made that decision because you felt that you didn't have any other choice, but it was still the right decision because that's the decision you made.
I talked about that a lot with Madison when she was learning how to drive, and we're going places. And she's like, "Do I make a left here? I don't know. Do you?" And I would, places that we've been a few times that she kind of knows where we're at. This is off GPS kind of days. But yeah, we were going to the same neighborhood like over and over again. A lot of the stuff that we continually did was kind of like in this little section of town. Right. So I'm like, I don't know. Are you making a left here? Are you making a right here? Like, there's 10 ways to get there. Which way are you taking? I don't know. Where are you going? You're driving.
Yeah, so, I mean, I spent so long looking back and going, what if I would have done this differently? Or what if I would have done that differently? Or what if it doesn't, you didn't do that. I didn't do that. And so it doesn't matter what could have or would have happened. That's not what happened. And let that shit go.
That's all drama.
Yeah.
That's all the drama we talk about when I talk about no more
drama.
What
do you need in this moment to feel safe? I think that's the next question. Like, why do you not feel safe? What is it to connect with yourself enough to go, okay, what am I afraid of right now in this moment? What am I fearful of? Is it not getting the bills paid? Is it, okay, so do I always get the bills paid? Yes.
No, I don't.
Or no.
Somehow I
Is
make
the
it
world
work.
Gonna end? No.
Right.
Will you get it figured out at some point? Yes. How much energy are you spending on just surviving and being?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you spend that same amount of energy on living and healing, that's where the real magic happens. What is your look like? What would your life look like if all the energy you spent on worrying and freaking out and trying to control everything? What would your life look like if you just you started living, and that means like healing yourself and working on yourself, and which is not, it's not pretty. I mean, like, literally, my legs are gross. Like, I mean, like, I just have this horrendous, because my body's like, oh, we're fighting this,
Yeah, I have to agree with her. Her legs are gross. I would normally not say that.
No, I have a blistering rash all over my legs.
This one's bad.
Yeah.
And
and it's like the foundation of who I am. Like, that's the other thing, is that our root chakra is physically it's in charge of our bones, because that's our structure, right? Our bones, our muscles, anything from the waist down, knees, hips, because it's our taint, as right. It's at the base of our spine, right? It's the base of our
literally
spine.
Anytime anyone goes, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's your friggin' taint.
Yeah.
It's your taint. It's my favorite thing.
Taint your asshole.
As soon as someone said that, I'm like, that's right. That's right where it would be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I always
color is red, by the way.
It is. I did not wear our. Do I have any? I don't know if
I
I
always
have anything.
try. I always try. This is also because this is our safety and security, and this is basic needs as well, you guys. So if you grew up in a household where you didn't have a whole lot, you fended for yourself a lot, that contributes to this being blocked, right? And so this is also where eating disorders come into place. So when you start to balance this out, you will either gain or lose weight, depending on what you need, where the balance is. Your energy gets to where you can't be swayed. You are anchored in who you are. Like, I am so secure in who I am at this point that even with all of this going on with me, you're right, I'm never going to give up. In this moment, is it really hard for me? Yes, it is. Am I fighting right now? Yeah, I am. And I'm exhausted. But am I going to give up fighting? Absolutely not, because that's just not an option. That's not who I am. It doesn't mean that I want to fight right now, because I don't. But I'm anchored in who I am, and I'm so comfortable in who I am that this is not going to rock me. It's not,
One of the things I can say since working in this as intensely as we did a couple months ago, I'm not rocked. I'm not rocked. Things are crazy this week. I'm dealing with some stuff this week. It's all working out. I don't like how it's working out, probably, but it's all working out. And it's not gonna work. Because that's what happens. It just works.
Yeah. Yeah. So meditation's great to ground yourself. I always think of, so one of my favorite practices, and I have not been doing this lately. I haven't sat in this space for more than a few minutes in a couple of weeks. And I needed to, because when I sat down here today, it was like, oh, because this is where I ground. This is my space. And so every day I call my energy back to me, and then I ground my energy to myself and to the earth. And I imagine roots just coming, bottoms of my feet. If I'm sitting, I picture myself sitting on a big tree, and I am the tree and the roots, and going into the earth and just absorbing all of that energy. That's my favorite way to do it.
Mine too. And notice where
Listen to drums.
Where the earth supports you. So maybe your feet, maybe your seat, maybe both. I notice where my back hits the back of the chair. I'll notice that. Just notice where you're supported, where it feels heavy. Know that's all good. The earth has you.
You're supported.
You are supported.
You're supported. Yeah. And when you start this work, remember that you're building a foundation. This is the foundation of who you are and where you came from and your ancestors and who you want to be at the root of who you are, right? Because that's what this chakra is all about. So this is where you get to decide, like, at the root of who you are, and what is your foundation? What are you putting together for yourself? And you get to build that foundation any way you like. Mm-hmm. You get to decide how sturdy it's going to be and how rock solid it's going to be. And whatever that looks like for you.
And sometimes it needs to be water. Sometimes it needs to flow. Sometimes it needs to be sway in the breeze.
Well, I mean, look at the willow tree, right? Yep.
It's all beautiful.
Yeah.
It's all beautiful love. So, hey, would you like to pull a card? Or do you have a message for people?
I don't know. Let's pull it. Let's see.
I have a really good message for people. Root, baby. Root. Just root it.
Root it.
Just root it.
Or root around and find out what you want.
Mm-hmm. Root around and find out.
Root around and find out. That's right.
We need that. That needs to be a shirt. Root around and find out.
Oh, gosh. That's funny. And if you're into music and you want to, tribal drumming, Mongolian throat music, that's one of my favorite ones. That deep bass, like that drum, Native American drums is another one of my favorites. The dingeridoo, I just love saying that. The dingeridoo from Australia, and it's this ooh, and it's just it's so beautiful. So go listen to that stuff if you want. And I love that 3 cards came out.
Of course
Gotta
they did.
love this.
I'm in the room.
Huh?
I'm in the room. It's number one card.
Yeah, but we're talking about the root chakra, and I can't make this up because you guys know I just picked these up. But guidance. So always turn to yourself for guidance and know that the guidance that you need is within yourself. And by connecting with yourself, you will find that guidance that you need. But the root chakra actually came up, and it's determination. When you set your mind to something, know that you have the determination in you. You have survived this long, like, know that you can keep going. And spiritual practice that goes every day, ground yourself in some way. Go say hi to a tree, talk to the plants as you walk out. But connect with yourself and your root. Yeah.
I love you.
I love you.
I love you. So I pulled the Nine of Wands, guys. And the Nine of Wands is a card of lessons. The first lesson is to be patient in the face of frustration. So I really got to talk about what frustration really is, right? It's having thwarted intentions. Like, the shit isn't happening on your timeline. The Nine of Wands reminds us.
Rude, I feel so called out by this.
I'm like, this is why I said I love you. Because as I was going through it, I'm like, ooh, I don't know if that's me or her that we're getting yelled at.
Yes.
But we're getting yelled at. This could also be defensiveness from either you or someone around you. So if it's you, what can you let go of? Is it being right? Is it looking good? Is it the end? It's just not serving you? And if it's someone else, the key is not to push. Let them come to their own conclusions. That key phrase would be, I am here when you are ready, and be willing to wait for them to come to you or decide not to. Either way, being in their face about it isn't going to solve anything.
Ouch. I think mine's the timeline thing. I want to know all the medical stuff right now. I just want to know what I'm dealing with. Because then I know what I'm dealing with.
Right. But you know what? It's not your turn to know.
Rude. It's always my turn to know.
I know. Trust me when I tell you, I'm like, yeah, I'm on my 3rd solar charge controller in the past month, so eventually one will work.
Right.
I will tell you guys, I bought one. It had good reviews, and there was enough reviews that I thought it was going to be okay. But when I went digging deeper later, I realized it really wasn't. And it really wasn't. It just stopped working after 4 days. So I've been dealing with that. And the new one is supposed to be in tomorrow. So that'll be fun. But guys, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for coming and hanging out. And
thank you, Heather, for being here today and showing up as you.
Thanks. It's my pleasure. I wouldn't do it any other way. I wouldn't. That's why we do this. Like, this is what we're going through right now. This is a raw, open conversation about what's happening with us, and it fits within what we're talking about. So
this is the work.
This is the work, yeah.
Work in action. So
yeah,
you can't be afraid to do the work. And if you are, I'm sorry, find a better guide because you're already.
I mean,
If you start on the
you're
path,
going to be stagnant. If you're not happy with where you're at, you have to do the work to change that. And it's your connection with yourself that has to change. So if you're looking to where do you start with just connecting with yourself. The work will come. Trust me. The shit will come up for you to work on, but just start connecting with yourself.
Exactly. All right, guys. I'll see you all next week. Thank you, Heather. I love you.
Thank you, Jeff.
I'll see you guys.
Love everyone. Bye.
Everyone here at the True Awesome Network asks you to please subscribe, like, comment, and spread awesome.